Cybil's name is a derivative of the name Cybil with an S, and comes from the Latin Sibylla, for fortune teller or prophetess, someone with divine powers. You may have seen the name before in the Harry Potter universe, where the strange yet actually gifted divination teacher is named Cybil Trelawney. Her last name, Bennett, comes from benedictus, a blessing. All in all, Cybil Bennett is someone gifted, someone special, a blessing on the player and Harry. It's fitting. We first meet her when she saves us in the diner, and from then on, Cybil acts as something of a rock in the storm for Harry. Cybil's name was originally taken from a famous policewoman. What's interesting is that, like Harry, Cybil's original name had a darker meaning. Lori Bembenek was sent to prison for the murder of her partner's ex-wife, but it was possibly a frame job done by the police department itself due to another case in which Bembenek was a key witness, a case investigating police corruption. Her innocence or guilt is still arguable, but it's interesting that there was once a planned connection to her in Cybil's background. In the play novel, we learn more about Cybil, that in fact she was driven to become a police officer due to trauma in her own life. This story has eerie similarities to another Japanese story, the manga Hellsing, which began publication in 1997. Both feature female characters who are cops who are driven to become police officers because they watched their parents being murdered in their own homes from inside a closet. It's almost the exact same scenario. So it may be a possible reference to the series or a major coincidence. I've discussed before how Silent Hill so masterfully flips traditional gender roles, and it does so with Cybil. In Silent Hill 1, Harry is our maternal and feminine character, someone who is allowed to show weakness and emotion in ways that most male characters aren't. On the flip side, Cybil is our masculine, protective character. She's a police officer, drives a motorcycle, has short hair and leather pants. Her appearance is far more traditionally masculine. In-game, it takes her longer than Harry to realize the truth about the town. She associates the weirdness of Silent Hill with the drug trade, refusing to believe it could be anything magical, because she is the rational figure, someone down to earth. Another role usually associated with male characters, just as emotions are often reserved for women. Cybil plays a role a man would usually take, the armed and dangerous guardian who watches out for our lead hero. Yet she is still vulnerable, like any person in Silent Hill. Late in the game, she is attacked in the sewers and is then seen in the amusement park, where she is faced as an enemy. It is against her will. The novelization mentions she is awake and aware, but the player can only save her if they have the Aglaufotis. This is a rare occasion in the series where a major character lives or dies based on your actions. Eileen is another example, perhaps even Douglas. But no one else is really like Cybil, someone who was our friend, who we may have to kill in order to survive. Look at the scene where Cybil is attacked. While we can't see what attacks her, it appears that a single blow to the back gets her, knocking her out. The monsters don't have that kind of finesse, and wouldn't be interested in then dragging her elsewhere. Also, when we see her next, she's in a wheelchair, a device used to ease the effort of moving people around. Is it possible a human knocked her out, drugged her with the parasite, and moved her to be in Harry's way, either to try and stall him, or make him get rid of her? Who could have done it and why is unclear, but it appears to me that this scene implies human interference rather than monsters. Dr. Kaufman and Dahlia would both have reasons to want a police officer investigating the drug trade to disappear. Cybil's role in the game is that of a guide. She assists Harry towards his goal. Her guidance keeps him alive, to the point that she encourages him to leave in the bad plus ending, knocking some literal sense into him. It's no joke to say he would not have succeeded without her. Much like Laura and James in 2, and Heather and Douglas in 3, these two end up helping each other survive. I connect these three trios because Team Silent connects them in the Book of Lost Memories. Laura, Douglas, and Cybil are all described as being represented by the tarot card, the Hanged Man. They are all characters who are only associated with Silent Hill through someone else, and they end up helping the main character reach their goal. The Hanged Man sounds like an ominous figure, like someone being killed, but it is actually a card that represents the power of life, of the divine in man, the power of someone approaching divinity themselves. They are, in other words, more than human. This is a card associated with wisdom and prophecy. Once again, Cybil is associated with the otherworldly power of divine magic. There's a great deal of irony in writing a character who is so rational and realistic, who is also associated with divine magical power. While she doesn't do anything magical in-game, she speaks prophecy. She warns Harry to be careful who he shoots when she gives him a gun, and that gun may later be used to kill her. She even says, "Don't go blasting me by mistake." There's been a lot of discussion about whether or not Cybil lives. Silent Hill 3 makes at least the good ending canon, but there's no mention of Cybil or whether she escaped town. Silent Hill Homecoming mentions a female police officer who vanished in town, only leaving behind a motorcycle. So did Cybil die? Or did she possibly escape? I think, whichever end of the game the player receives, it is safe to say that by Silent Hill 3, Cybil has been lost. Either she was killed in the amusement park because Harry could not save her, or presumably she escaped town with him. But in the years following those events, people will continue to die and vanish in Silent Hill. Knowing what we know of Cybil Bennett, I think it's safe to say she would have become involved again as a police officer in a nearby town who knew the truth of the area and had been touched by the magic there. She could easily have slipped into the otherworld again. Perhaps she was trying to find a missing person. Perhaps she went back to continue investigating the cult. Who knows for sure? But I believe it is safe to say the world has seen the last of the heroic Cybil Bennett.